So I can see there is a lot of freshers and the students. There is a system admin, application support, Windows administrator. Okay, I can wait for 1 more minute, then I can move on the next slide. Okay, I think it's enough. Based on these inputs, I can able to see there are the majority of our audience are system administrators, and the next one is the fresher students. They all fall in the same category. Okay, so I can see a lot of IT background and non-IT background. I'm trying to see there is a BI is also a kind of an IT. There is a project manager. Okay, so this is so there is a next slide. Let me move on this one. So can you quickly type this response using just you will get this second questionnaire is what is your overall IT experience? Whatever you have, just choose the yes answer and submit. Oh, the answers are. Oh, I'm getting in different screen the answers, but this screen is not updating. Just choose your answers and we will collect this data. Okay, I can share this informations in the coming slides. So there is a third questions. How would you rate yourself in the cloud technologies? If you have any idea, I mean, you choose no idea, choose 0. If you have an heard about it before, you can choose that. If you have a good knowledge, choose that area. Or if you consider yourself as a master, choose that. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I think the majority of our audience already heard, and also that is having a good knowledge on the concept used in project. So no idea, it's very limited. So then it's good. Then this webinar is perfect fit for you. Okay, instead of a beginner. Yes. With this, I think I can move on my presentation and kick off the slides. Yeah. So what it implies based on this your feedback, I can see a lot of system administrator and majority of our audience are from IT background compared to the others. Also, I can see all majority of our audience are having some good heard about this cloud, having some good knowledge in the cloud. Okay, so with this assumption, we will narrow. I mean, going further on this. Okay, so this is our detailed agenda for this today webinar. So this webinar was scheduled for 1.5 hours. Already 10, 15, I mean 14 minutes is passed out. We are going to spend another 75 minutes on this webinar. So first I will give a short introduction about who is Ameya and why we are conducting this webinar. Also, and then also we will go to discuss about the core concept of the Microsoft Azure cloud computing, and then we move on to that what are all the available Azure certification paths, and for that certification what are the skills required and what exams you need to choose. Also, we thought to share some knowledge where you can start based on your current positions, profiles, or if you are a freshers, where you can start. At the end, we have a Q&A sessions. Okay. So this is our total, the detailed agenda for this webinar. Okay, about Ameya, a quick introductions. So Ameya Data Solution is a Canada-based technology company. Originally, it was founded 2016. It offers number of solutions in big data and cloud technologies, including AWS, Azure, and GCP. Also, we are offering training in the industry relevant technologies. I think somebody is using your mouse to try to annotate on this screen. Please avoid that. Thanks. Okay. So as I said, Ameya is also offering an training in premium technologies, cutting edge technology and the evolving technologies like cloud computing, data analytics, big data technologies, and more. Um, the hallmark of Ameya is offering a premium quality training, trending technologies, and also whoever is getting trained from us, we are helping them to getting the job ready. Also, we have an in-house placement assistance through which we are helping them to prepare the resumes and providing an interviews, prepare for the interviews, those things. These are all some of our training divisions hallmarks. Okay. As I said, Ameya is also providing a staffing solutions through which we already partnered with a number of companies in North America as well as in India, where we are marrying the right skilled, top skilled people to the top companies. Okay, this is a little bit background about who is Ameya and what are we doing. Okay. With that, I can say that Ameya operate in few business that complement to each other. We have a strong presence in training, and we also have few related products which are on the demand practice lab. Okay, so which related to the training. We also have partnered with the premium technology companies and recruitment agencies in both Canada and India for staffing services. As I already mentioned, we placed the high quality talent with the top notch companies. Okay. So this is a short overview about who is Ameya. So I think with this introduction, let me quickly jump into some technical concept. Before that, why are we doing? Okay, and also why is cloud computing is important to you? Those who are all attended today are everyone's. Okay, so why this cloud computing is important? Let me just share some of that inside details, and then we will jump into that actual technical discussions. So far, if you have any questions, anything, please type in your chat window. We will answer those questions at the end of the sessions. Okay. Yes. So let's think in this way. The cloud impact us all in some way or the other. Okay. You use the cloud every day, whether you know it or not. The cloud is essential in the internet now. So an example is when you book an Airbnb reservation, or if you are using any Uber, or if you are checking your Gmail, or you are going to cinema, there are very highly chances you are interacting with one of the cloud. Sorry. Okay. One of the cloud services. Okay. Whether it may be an Amazon, or it is an Microsoft Azure, or whether it may be a GCP. You are pretty much touching the cloud every single day in your life. I think in 5 years, if you are a software development, or you are working in IT industry, or a solution architect, and if you are not doing any cloud, then you are going to be an irrelevant to the industries. Okay, so everything is going to cloud. There is a huge demand for the cloud professionals out there. There is a massive skill gaps. It's growing wider and wider. Most of the companies nowadays are realizing this one. Okay, that's the reason why Ameya also trying to contribute to fill some of these gaps. Like Ameya, there are many training institute, the learning centers also now focusing on this cloud. Okay, so not only this IT companies, nowadays all other company, whoever is any engineering company or real estate company, they all realized now they can't able to start a company in a property company. They have to be somewhere be a technology company. Okay, then only they can able to survive. Okay, so that's why it's why you should think about this cloud. Also, there are top 8 reasons we have identified to take up why you should take up the cloud certifications. Okay, why you should consider the certifications. Okay, I can give this example for having some knowledge of cloud computing technology without a certification is like knowing how to fly a plane without a pilot license. So whatever the sense it makes, that's how it's like. Not just cloud computing, many of them are aware of that. Any technical certification helps to land a job. If a person attending an interview will be judged in a span of 10 minutes, so a certificate in cloud or that relevant technical will help you to showcase your skills better, right? So I can go with the top 8 reasons why you should consider for a cloud certifications. Okay. The first reasons I can say like the statistics. Okay, according to 451 research, there are already 85% of companies in the globe are already on the cloud, which shows that the cloud is already dominating the market. Okay, so there are some other reports also already states that in 2023, the cloud computing market is expected to reach almost 630 billion US dollars. In 2019, it was around 250 billion dollar. You see, it's going to triple in another 2 to 3 years. Okay, so that's the first and foremost reasons. And second one is, let's say as an employer or as an resource, okay, why I should consider. Okay, if you are turning up for a job interview, there are 100 job applications with the same qualifications as you have. So what is the point of hiring you instead of others? Okay, this is where a cloud certification or any technical certification helps. You can talk about in the interview and it can differentiate you from the other applications. Okay, so that's the second reason. I can say the third is the most one of the biggest reason why everyone is going into that cloud certifications. Okay, this is one of the biggest reasons I take up that cloud computing as a career option also. According to Glassdoor India, there are cloud engineers can expect a starting salary of 4 lakhs to the 16 lakhs. It's a fresher's salary. The same in US, the starting salary, it varies from, for example, I don't have any background, but I'm joining as a cloud engineer. The salary starts from 90,000 up to 180K for, and depends on your experience. So this is one of the major reason why the people wants to go for a cloud certification and they want to choose a cloud as a career. And the fourth reason, you can showcase your expertise in these particular cloud skills. Okay, if you are already an IT person looking for a job in the cloud field, it is better to have a certification that portrays your expertise. It will be directly conveyed to the interviewers. Okay, so any one of the cloud certification will help you to move into the. The fifth one is you can demonstrate your commitment to work. If you are already currently working in an IT role or a cloud role, you can show your commitment to work by clearing a cloud certification. For example, if you are a software developer or an engineer or you shift your career to the cloud, then getting a certification is the right direction. Okay, the first step for you. Also, the abundance of the jobs. Okay, this is important. To get high salary, first you need to be a lucrative job, right? So first your question would be, are there enough jobs to apply for? Are there any enough number of jobs available in cloud? I very strongly say that absolutely yes. Okay. Let's just take a look at the Indeed job posting for our cloud engineer. Okay, there are around 40,000 jobs were posting for, they are looking for a cloud engineer or a cloud architect. Okay, that much it's, or in simple terms to understand, if there are 10 jobs are posting, which includes all the IT, out of 10, 4 to 5 jobs only on cloud. So the remaining 5 only it share with all the rest of the technology, which may be your Java, Python, whatever you take it. Okay, so more than 40 to 50% cloud started taking already. Okay, so also the seventh reason I can say like learning never stops, right? So if you upgrade, keep on yourself, and you always rise your shoulder and head compared to your peers. Okay, then there is an eighth point, there is blurring of line between the technical and managerial roles. Whether you realized or not, those who are already project managers, slowly it is converting this in as a scrum master kind of thing, because this middle management, it's getting slowly thinner and thinner, because they all expect they should have some technology knowledge. Okay, so that's why those who are already in middle management, it is must they should be equipped themselves in the technology line, and this is the perfect time for them also to start. The same like can freshers. Okay, this is the perfect time with respect to cloud technology. It started emerging. So when you start learning and get certification here, your job would be more brighter than compared to other technologies. Okay, These are all the top 8 reasons why you should consider the cloud certification, not only with the knowledge. Okay, you should have get some certificate. All right. I hope this will make sense. So far, I just walked through with who are we, also why you should consider for cloud, and then what is the importance of the cloud certifications. With this introduction and background, I can pass over to my panelist Shiva Kumar, who is going to talk with you more about technicals, like what is cloud. Also, is going to take you a deep dive into the Microsoft Azure cloud in 1 hour. Because Azure cloud is a vast, very vast, but he's trying to put everything into fit in 1 hour. That's our whole objective. In 1 hour, we want to try to cover maximum about the Microsoft Azure. Uh, I can pass on this to now to Shiva.
Thanks, Ganesh.
Shiva, I can give you a control.
Yeah, I just requested the control.
Yes. Just give me a moment, Shiva. I can mute one thing. 1 second, Shiva.
Sure.
Yeah, you can take control.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for the great introduction, Ganesh. I'll just pause for a minute. I just want to hear back from you guys whether you can audible. I'm audible to you.
Yeah, I can able to hear you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Okay, as Ganesh said, why cloud is important and why we all need to learn about cloud and do the certification to upskill ourselves in the upcoming industrial revolution or the digital transformation happening across all the industries. So being said that, let's start with what is cloud. So I would like to start with 3 different fundamentals before we jump into the cloud concepts. One, what is computing, and what is internet, and what is a data center, and how the organization uses are hosting all their applications and serving the customers to fulfill their digital requirements, right? So the computing is nothing but having some sort of power or computing power to perform a task, do a mathematical calculation to achieve or accomplish outcomes. And if you can get into the next slide on the cloud computing, we all use the internet today. And what is an internet? It's a network of a network, right? All the devices we use currently, or all the services we use currently, which is completely relies on the internet. We all relies on the internet, and internet is becoming more and more mandatory or kind of a service like water or electricity to all of us, right? So without oxygen, water, and now electricity is also added into that. Now we are in an era where we cannot live without the internet. And as we said, that internet is a network of a network. Now, what is a cloud? If you are adding compute onto the storage and get those compute and storage also through the internet, which is nothing but the cloud computing. So in the current world, every one of us using smartphones and other technologies, which by means which we already started into the cloud computing. If you are using an iPhone, all our photos and all our transactions or the activities, whatever we do within the iPhone, is getting stored in the iCloud, which is managed by the Apple. The same way, if you are using a Gmail or any other mail services, is not managed within the data center. It's everything is available in the cloud, and it's coming, or we are accessing the cloud services, the compute resources or the storage through the internet by means of our devices. And why the cloud computing is very important for all the companies, and why everyone is moving towards the cloud computing. We can take the example when the COVID hits in March across the world. The companies who already started their digital transformation or in their digital transformation was the one who survived this difficult situation. who were not ready to do their digital transformation, they are the one who got the big hit. I can give a real world example of a travel company which were primarily focused all their infrastructure within their data center. They don't have any capabilities of dynamically scaling their compute requirements based on the booking volumes or reduce their computing power if there is no such requirements or there is no such booking activities are happening. What happened in March, drastically, their 100% booking got reduced into 4%, which means they don't need, if they, let's assume that if they have 100 servers to perform this activity every day, they don't need those 100 servers anymore from the March 10th when this issue hits and across all of that. Their compute power was used only 1/4 of their current usage. But they are not in cloud and they don't have any way to reduce the overall compute need, and by means they are no way going to reduce their overall infrastructure or IT support cost. Because to support the data center, they need person to perform the activities, and also they need huge manpower as well as compute and electricity to support this infrastructure. Even if it is 1% volume of overall booking they are handling on that day, they couldn't reduce their overall infrastructure. Whereas the companies such as Expedia, Airbnb, they were smart about it and they have the flexibility because they are in the cloud and they are up in their digital transformation. They were able to increase their booking, increase their compute power with one button click, and they can reduce their compute power if it is not used. And they can able to significantly reduce their overall operations cost and infrastructure cost, and it helps them to survive this difficult situation. For being said that, I believe you got what is a cloud computing means, which is nothing but we are going to get all our computing power such as servers, storage, network, and other infrastructures by means of the internet, so we can access those computing services across the world without it. So the cloud computing is split into the two different models. One is a deployment model and another one is a service model. And most of you might have heard about these terms: public cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud, and also you might have come across this terms like a SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. It's kind of a bit confusing for everyone. That's why we decided to split this into two different models. One is the deployment model and another one is the service model. So what's a deployment model? So most of the folks who know about IT infrastructure or being into a service administrator or a database administrator, you might know the deployment, what a deployment means, an application deployment or an infrastructure deployment. Let's start with an infrastructure deployment. Let's say that you want to host a web application, right? To start or hosting a web application, we might need a web server. Maybe we might need a database server to store all the transactions performed on the web application, right? Let's start with these two. So these two servers, if it is hosted within the company, within the company's infrastructure, and it's available only within the company's infrastructure network capabilities, then it's going to be on their on-prem data center. So to do this, they need to do upfront planning to set up a data center and cooling for the data center and energy efficiency for the data center, because there might be lots of planning is required. It may be very simple to start with this web application, but in the back, the infrastructure and all the other requirements to set up that infrastructure is very heavy. They need to do or start with the planning of the network. They need to start the planning of the racks for the servers. Then they have to get that servers physically ordered and delivered into their data center, and they need to plan about the cooling for those infrastructure. And for each of this, they have to start from the scratch, and they need a person who manages their infrastructure from the hardware perspective. Not only that, they need to make sure that it's secure and the disks are properly partitioned. Everything is part of the infrastructure team to set up the data center. But let's assume the data center is available only for the company And if there is a natural disaster or any other problem occurs, they lost all their computing power because it's not going to be available for them. But when we come to the cloud computing, as we said, the computing is going to be available in the cloud, and we will be accessing them through the internet. So now we need to separate this into the different models. One is a public cloud. So let's talk about the public cloud model in detail. Yeah, you can see here the public cloud is owned by the cloud services or a hosting provider. So which means there is a provider who provides this as a service to you. So the provider owns all the infrastructure, all the network, and all the software and application and hardware and the security. Most of them is owned by the cloud provider, and you are kind of paying the fee for the usage for the cloud service. So you are getting a service, and he is the provider, and you are paying the fees for the service. The cloud provider owns everything. So, and all these services can be accessible typically over the internet. And this will be the same resource or the same cloud provider will provide the services for multiple organizations, multiple users from multiple regions. If we look at the private cloud, to contrast to that, it's an organizations, but that organizations are moving from their on-premise, which is the data center sits within their operational environment or within their office location. They are moving their infrastructure into cloud and accessing them via internet. So the organizations or the companies are responsible for operating these services what they provide. There are some companies host the private cloud and also make sure they are providing the services specific to one organization or one department within that organization. Right? This is the definition of the private cloud. Now, if we marriage the best of both worlds, which is called hybrid cloud, and there are companies which is using the hybrid cloud based on the requirements they have. There are certain requirements where the companies or the government regulations prevents the companies not to use the public cloud for certain services. One example is about the government, where it manages all our social security informations within the government's private cloud, whereas it makes all the publicly available information using or delivered using the public cloud. So this is the marriage between the private and public cloud, so that they can use the best of both worlds and also fulfill all requirements where they get the benefit of the cloud company. I hope the deployment models or the different models of the cloud, deployment models of the cloud computing is clear to you. And I'll move into the next session, which is the service model. And this is a kind of a comparison between these three models, which we have seen in the previous slide. We have three different of deployment models. One is the public, another one is the private, third one is hybrid, and each has its own pros and cons. We will see in depth in these models and how to choose one of these models in our upcoming webinars or in the Azure Foundation training sessions. So the cloud services. So we have seen the cloud model now. Now it's about the cloud services. So being a cloud and the services you are going to use from the cloud, there is a model which we need to respect, which is the shared responsibility. So let's assume that if we are getting into the transport service, there is a shared responsibility. As a service user, we need to purchase the ticket. We need to respect the regulations of the transport authority, and we need to see during the travel. Whereas driver has his own responsibility as a provider to make sure that he drives and safely depart us in the respective area. So the same way, the cloud services also have shared responsibility, and each of these service models have a different responsibility models, like IaaS, which is an infrastructure as a service, and the platform as a service, and software as a service cloud models. So why we have this differentiation between these service models and how to choose the best is based on our usage requirements or the service requirements. We'll get into the details in the next slide. So as we discussed about the shared responsibility model, we did look at the on-premises, which is as good as the private cloud, whereas the data and access, applications, runtime, operating system, virtual machines, computing, networking, storage is all responsible of us. So whoever manages or the organization. So whoever manages this is managing or taking the responsibility of all these services. Whereas the infrastructure as a service, we are getting the compute, networking, storage from the cloud provider, and they are responsible for that. Whereas the data and the access security, applications, the runtimes, maintaining the runtimes of the latest and the greatest versions, and maintaining the operating system with the proper patch levels, the virtual machines is the responsibility of the application or the organization, right? So the application provider or the organization provider is responsible to manage these 5 components in the infrastructure as a service. But if we don't want to do that, and we want to go and we don't want to spend too much on our OpEx, and we want to focus only on the CapEx, then we have the next level of service which is available on the platform, which is the platform as a service. You can see here everything except the data access and the application is provided by the platform as a service. So we need to make sure that we deploy our applications and manage them as well as data and access. To contrast to the platform as a service, there is another model which is called as a software as a service. You can see here, even the applications or the software is the responsibility of the cloud provider, whereas we make sure to bring or manage the data properly within this or using the software and ensure the data security of the data what we are managing. So there is a different level of exactly. I'm going to do that in the next slide. I'm going to show some sort of an example between these 3 different models. So this is the infrastructure as a service. So you can see here the servers and storage, networking, firewalls and security, data center, and all the physical building plans is all comes under the IaaS model. So we just go and get the servers with the configuration what we need. That's all about it. Installing the OS, managing the patches, and ensuring to provide access and remove the access is all responsibility or making sure tuning the hardware and tuning the software is responsible of the organizations, right? And we pay for the usage for those servers and storage. In the PaaS model, on top of this, the operating system, the patch management, and the development tools, database management, and other tools required for the analytics is also comes with that model, which means it has its own premium. We don't need to maintain these services or to do any sort of a management activities on these services, right? On SaaS, on top of it, you can see another example where all of this, it includes the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, which is the software, and we all need to worry about is making sure configuring the applications and using the application. To give an example, so in the IaaS model is nothing but you go and get all the hardware and assemble them, and let's assume that you get a server from Best Buy and you start installing the OS, patch, and maintaining everything on that. In the PaaS model, you got everything is up and running, where you need to make sure that you need to install the applications you need and make sure you manage the applications. Whereas the operating systems, the patch, security updates, and everything done through the Windows with a service contract what you have in the Best Buy. Also Best Buy manages if there are any failures within the hardware or if there is any failures with your operating system issues, right? But in the SaaS, you get everything. You're just going to configure it. So you might be creating the admin users or the user logins for other users, and you just use it and you make sure that your data is safe. If you can go here an example for the SaaS applications, Salesforce, I'm not sure most of you guys are aware of the Salesforce or any other CRM, which is mostly a SaaS. It covers everything. They manage the infrastructure, they manage the configurations you need. On top of it, you're going to configure application of the Salesforce application based on your requirement that you're going to use it. Whereas the PaaS, you will get the database. There are multiple database services such as Cosmos or Azure Synapse, where you will just configure to get your data into the platform. Whereas the infra as a service, you get a VM with 16 cores, 1 terabyte of memory, then you will start configuring the OS and installing the SQL Server or any other database you need, and you start accessing them. So the responsibility, so in the IaaS, the cost will be less, but the management, operational maintenance is high. Whereas in the PaaS, it's little expensive, where you don't need to manage any of the IT infrastructure or a system administration or a OS administration, but you still relies on your applications, database, and other components. Whereas in the SaaS, you pay for the application usage and you ensure your application is well maintained, configured to get the best service of the SaaS. If we can take a real world example, pizza as a service, let's assume on-premise is making a pizza at home. You have the oven, you have you need the flour, you buy eggs and everything, and prepare the pizza in the home and eat it. Whereas in IaaS, you're just taking a ready-to-pack pizza from the store, but you still need oven, you still need dining and arrangements for the dining to bake it and eat it. And it's you are responsible to bake it and get the best of the pizza, right? If you do something wrong, you cannot eat this. In the past, you order it, you deliver it, but you still need to take care of your dining, arranging the dining, and also cleaning up the utensils and so on. Whereas in the SaaS, if you look at it, you go, eat it, and pay for what you eat. With that, I think we covered the cloud services and the two different models of IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So in the cloud computing model, there are many vendors who are providing these public cloud services, and the three dominant players on the public cloud today is Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, and Google GCP, and each of them have their own service models and their own pricing and their own services. So when I say services, all of them has the products with the three different models. The deployment, most of the deployment model is public, but they have the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS as part of their cloud offering. With these three vendors, we are going to choose Azure for today's session. The reason being is Azure is late in the game because Amazon AWS was the one who introduced the public cloud offering as part of their elastic computing architecture, and they started it in 2006. But Microsoft Azure entered the game a bit late, but they are start penetrating the market very early. And once they are into the market, and most of our enterprise customers started using Azure. If you ask me, if I'm doing some sort of a consulting for about 10 clients and 8 of them are preferring Azure because of the natural fit in the environment, they already have the Microsoft product, they are using Office, they are having a very good representation from Microsoft to take care of their problems, they are using the Office 365, and the Power BI is one of the leading reporting tools used across the industry and across all the organizations in North America and Asia. And everyone is preferring Microsoft Azure because of their billing model and kind of a transparency, and they don't want to steal any business from you. That's another core reason why small businesses as well as many enterprises wants to go towards Azure than Amazon AWS. Though the Amazon AWS is the strong competent on the cloud marketing and most of the initial cloud transition happened on Amazon AWS, we can clearly see that there is a slight transition from AWS to Azure. Yeah, so to answer your question, there is definitely Microsoft Azure provides all the three. So it does support the hybrid cloud computing model. It doesn't have a private offer yet, fully operational, but the hybrid offering is using the Azure Arc. They are supporting it. So you can get into the Microsoft Azure's core services, what Azure provides. You can see here in the core services, there are 5 components in detail, but we are going as part of the foundation course, and we are going to see the high-level view of the 3 components because we are running out of time, and we will be focusing more on the architectural components, whereas which describes about the regions, geographics, availability, and resources, and also the core Azure services on the virtual machines, networking, and the data storage. Then the different solutions Azure offers for the IoT, AI, and data analytics. And last but not the least, mostly on the DevOps, serverless computing, and the app services functions. So we are going to discuss in detail about the Azure architectural components. So we talked about the cloud computing is important, and we are going towards the cloud computing for many reasons. One, we will pay for the usage. At the same time, we don't need to care about the failover or replication because these services are built or a core of any cloud offerings, so that we don't need to worry about the resilience. We don't need to worry about the how much we are going to pay, and we don't need to spend on for disaster recovery. We need to plan about what is my disaster recovery center and how I'm going to recover my data in case of disaster, which can happen in the on-premise data center, where I need to plan upfront. The same concept is applicable in Azure as well. We need to plan upfront. How are we going to plan our recovery, and how we are choosing our regions, and what is a paired regions means, what is a resource group and resource group manager, how we are going to manage it. Though the public cloud is easy to use, if you do the planning upfront, it is easy to maintain the scale, whatever the rate we are growing, or we are using our Azure components. We'll be looking at in details and in depth on each of these topics in the foundation courses. We are going to see only a 100 feet, or I would say 1,000 feet overview on each of these components as part of this webinar. So in a nutshell, if we can look at all the components, what we have seen in the first, right? This is kind of how Azure builds or the core Azure architecture looks like. Right? We talked about the compute as a VM, right? So the VM is available in Azure as an individual service which we can consume, which has an SLA about 99.9% with a premium storage. So when we talk about the SLAs, this is a service level agreement Azure offers each of its services. So if you are configuring or getting a service from Azure, it guarantees 99.9% of availability for the VM with a premium storage in the Azure. Then we are getting into the availability sets. So what is an availability set? We need to make sure that we need to have a data center where one VM is failed, then the other VM should up and running within using the availability set, so our continuity can operate. So the availability set is within a data center grouping of to build the resilience and also the failovers with the services available as part of the regions. If you are looking at the availability zones, Azure builds or has multiple availability zones, group them under within a region. So if you can look at availability set as a data center, multiple data center combines together to form the region. So even if one enterprise even if one enterprise the availability zone or a data center dies, then we need the Azure region has the resilience to support by means of the another availability zone. You can see here, this is the region, and the region has the SLA about 99.9%. You can see here clearly the 99.9% of VM SLA is gradually increased to the 99.99% of region SLA. Right? Then we are looking at it here, the regional pairs. Now we talked about the VM, data center, availability zones. Then it's a multiple regions now. This is the region pairs where two regions within the Azure is linked together or paired together to provide the data residency boundary within the hundreds of miles. So if in case of an earthquake, other large-scale disasters happens, these region pairs will help us to make sure that our operations are continuous and we can able to get all of services. So this is the detailed information what we have seen so far. You can see here a region is a set of data center deployed within a latency defined perimeter and connected through a dedicated regional low latency. The region definition is broken down. It's a kind of a bottom up to see that it's a set of data center, latency defined perimeter, and the low latency network. Two or more data centers to not far, which is the 100 miles distance which we have discussed, and connected with the fiber connection. And also how to choose a region so these are the three questions we need to answer before we finalize in which region we need to host our application or host our use our services, right? Let's say that we are a North American company and we want to host our application for the North American customers. What's the main important thing we need to know is about the latency, right? We are providing these services over the internet, or the cloud computing is providing the services over the internet, right? So as a user, if someone access our application or services, they have to get that response with a very quick, with a very limited latency, right? So when we are choosing the region, we have to choose the region closest to our users to minimize the latency, right? And the other thing we need to consider is the futures, right? All the cloud, the Azure provides hundreds of services. That doesn't mean all the services are available in the chosen region. So we need to look at what features are available in our regions, whether it will fulfill our requirement. If that feature is not available in our region, then we need to choose based on the available features in a different region. Then the price one. So the pricing will vary based on the occupancy of the usage on the cloud region, and also the services and the price what Azure is paying to maintain the data centers on those regions. So the price of the services may vary from region to region. So we need to consider all these factors while we are choosing the region. So if we can look at this one, the Azure provides about 50 plus regions and representing 140 countries, where with the Azure's most used or heavily used or dominated region is an East US. That's why you can see that they have one more region within the same region, which is called as a East US 2. And these are the regions where most of the Azure's customers are heavily using, and almost all the features Azure's rolls out is usually available on these regions immediately as part of the private and public. And the region pairs we have looked at, you can see here that mostly it's paired within the same geography, except the Brazil South is paired with a different region. And also it's used for the outage failure. When there is an outage happens on the primary region, we can fail over into the secondary region, and also the planned updates can happen in one time, and the other region can get updated the other region. So we are not going to have some issues just by means of rolling an update. So this is an example of the region pairs, where we can see here each region is paired with the corresponding regions, and this is going to be an outage, then one of the regions is prioritized over the every pair on this. So let's assume that if there is an outage on this East US2, then the central US will come up quickly because they want to take that backup and get that recovered first before the East US2 they are working on the outage. If these two regions are out there, there is an outage impacts both the region, then based on the requirement they will focus on only one region, not the both region. And we discussed about availability zones, what is an availability zone and how it is important and how it is grouping them together within the Azure region. So it's the availability zone, consider that as a one or more data center, but it's grouped together within that Azure region. This is a summary of the Azure region and the availability zone which we have discussed, and each of them has its own features, whereas you can look at it in the Azure region, it's more of a one or a set of data center which is close enough to each other, and availability zone is within a region, and each zone has its own separate power cooling and networking, and used for the protecting the data from failures. So now, since we looked at the architectural components or the core components of the Azure, we can get into the Azure resource group and the resource manager. And the resource group is nothing but grouping all the resources to a resource group so that we can easily manage them and apply the policies and the controls on the resource group to manage our Azure deployments. And the AM, which is an Azure Resource Manager, which is a template approach Azure provides to simplify the deployments and control all our Azure components for create or update and manipulating the resources. We can do whatever we are trying to do with the ARM template using the Azure portal, but the ARM template is the preferred way of implementing or deploying the Azure resources, where we can have lots of automations and controls by just providing the ARM templates, where it provides the standard way of doing all the activities within the Azure deployment. So on the resource group, as we discussed, it's a grouping, whereas we are hosting a web application which is comprised of a web component, database component, virtual machines, and storage. We can group all this into one resource group, or we are a big organization, we have multiple web applications, and we have the support personnel to support each of the components in a different time zones, and different they need a different skill set, and they need different security levels, where we can split these resources differently, like a web and DB as a one resource group, virtual machine as another resource group, and storage as another resource group. This is important decision by an Azure architect. When we are hosting an application into the Azure, we need to understand the requirements, how we are setting up, not just for that one deployment, also the future deployments which we will be managing within the Azure for the next few years. So we need to do some sort of upfront planning. So when these decisions are happening, whatever your role is, whether you are an analyst or you are an IT admin or you are a project manager, your contribution is important to decide how we are structuring it, because once we set up, then rolling it back and creating another resource group is an additional work, and also some of the resources needs to be deployed, because it's not simply available to moving a resource from one resource group to another resource group if that feature is not available. So the resource manager, it's at the high level. We can see this is an Azure model, Azure deployment model, where there is a management group, then the subscription, there is a resource group, and the resources. So we can see at the bottom, there are multiple resources where we have the VMs, network, storage account, databases, Azure functions. Each of them are in individual resources, whereas we are grouping them, these three components, the VM, the network, and the storage, into one resource group. Maybe that will be used by the marketing team. So we are calling this as a marketing resource group. Whereas the another SQL is used, the database is used for the DBAs for performing their day-to-day operation or managing or backing up the data. So we call this as a database backup resource group, and the Azure function resource group is used by the accounting team to run some tasks certain time to time. Let's call them as an accounting resource group. Whereas the subscription is a group of resource group, and the subscription is the key component because it's attached to the billing. The Azure subscription and the billing is one-to-one. So if you're creating a subscription, all the resources attached to the subscription will be billed, and the Azure subscription is the way to see how much cost we need to pay for Azure for the resource usage we are doing as part of the subscription. But in an organization, there will be multiple departments. Each of them wants to have their own flexibility, where there will be multiple subscriptions can be created and the deployments can happen using the resource group. Whereas at the organization level, if you want to group them to see overall Azure usage, so we can plan upfront to reduce or optimize our Azure usage, and also increase and share the resources across different departments. The management groups allows us to group multiple subscriptions together to look at a holistic view of our Azure usage. When I say that why this is important, Azure has the pricing model that if you are paying per usage, the price might be a little high, but if we are having a lockdown pricing, that means if we have a forecast that we are going to use these resources for a 1 year, let's say that we need 10 VM, we can pay upfront to Azure to have that 10 VM and get up to 60% of discount. And if we have a forecast that we are going to use these VMs for 3 years, then we can do this upfront capacity planning also. Maybe for our minimum usage, come up with a number. We can go to Azure and lock those VMs for 3 years, which will give us 80% of savings in the cost if you are locking down the prices. The pricing model will be different based on the lockdown or the usage, how we want to forecast and locking down with Azure. So there are Azure core services and products. If you want to get into the definition of the Azure core products and services, this is a high-level slide which has the details about all the Azure services and the platform services and the infrastructure services, security and management, hybrid operation. All of these services and the products is available as part of the Azure Marketplace and Azure portal, and we can pick and choose whatever the services we want to use as part of our Azure deployment. We can see here in the left side, there is a security and operations management services which has the portal, Active Directory, multi-factor authentication, and Azure automations, Key Vault, and the VM image gallery, and so on. In the compute, we have the cloud services, batch, remote application, service fabric, and in integration, we have the storage queues, Vista, service bus, and the connections. And also the web and mobile, we have lots of apps and the APIs to support the web and mobile applications. And we have a huge collection of analytics and IoT, and this is one of the hottest Azure's product in the market, where most of the companies in Canada and Asia is moving towards or using at least one or two of the analytics and data components from Azure, because they are already using the SQL databases, SQL data warehouses, and the data factory from Azure for the native functionalities it's offered for them for many years, because they are used with the SSIS, if you know, and SSIS is nothing but the data factory in cloud. You can consider it that way. And in the infrastructure services, you have the virtual machine, containers, and storages and networking. You can see the multiple types of networking Azure offers. And the core services and products, we have the slides on each of these topics and product offering, what Azure provides. In the compute, I would like to rush through the slides because this is a vast topic and we might need one or 2 days of session to go the entire Azure fundamentals, and this is at least a half-day session to cover all the different computing and platform services available within the Azure components. So you can see here Azure provides virtual machines and the scale sets, function app. We can see in the left side, it segregates within the compute, networking, storage, web, mobile, and other components we have seen in the previous slide. So you can see Azure VM is used as an infrastructure as a service to provide the computing power in the cloud, whereas the scale set can scale from one to multiple identical VMs to provide the same service in case if you want to scale them. And we do have the app services and the functions. Same way, there are multiple types of network services available, and each of them has its own functionality. For example, the virtual network provides a secure communication between Azure resources, whereas the load balancer provides to automatically scales and meet the demand between the multiple servers and load balancing them across the servers. So if we can look at the different service or storage offerings between IaaS and PaaS. So we have the disks and files as part of the IaaS, where we need to configure and partition them to use our applications, whereas the PaaS, which comes with the blob storage, containers, tables, queues, and data lake storage, and so on. And not at the least, it's the database services offering, which I want to touch upon, because the Cosmos DB is one of the globally distributed NoSQL database service, which also provides the highest availability in any of the services, which is 99.999 up to 9 digits. And also the Azure SQL database and Azure database migration service is heavily used most of the enterprise customers to migrate their databases into the Azure cloud. Being said that, I think I'm at the end on my slide, and we'll hand over to Ganesh and continue about the trainings and certification offerings what Amir provides. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks, Siva. It's a mind blowing. It's a lot of information, lot of things. Let me start share my video too, so that I hope you can see. Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. See, guys, whatever we have seen so far, it's an at bare minimum it takes an 20 to 24 hours of the content. We try to fit it in an hour. Okay, exactly, Siva. So Siva was started with very holistic approach. Start from the very high perspective from enterprise level, and then he gradually moved down to the core level of services. Okay, so there are two reasons why we want to feed all these informations. Okay, so the first foremost information is so the cloud technology. Okay, whatever you have walked through, Siva was demonstrated. Majority is like a concepts. Okay, so what it says is anyone can start learning. Okay, it's not like an our old school of IT development. Somebody learns a Java, somebody start to learn and Python, then you should know the syntax like coding. Okay, so now the whole IT industry is moving towards the minimal level of coding and as well as a configuration based. Okay, so the second idea is we want to show you why the Azure is important. I mean, what way Azure dominating the other service providers like an AWS or the GCP or others, and what are all the products or the things Azure has on its shelf. Okay, that's the two main reasons. Don't worry about that if you are not able to understand anything on this. Slowly, our main idea is we want to showcase you what is Azure, what it has, also the vocabulary. Okay, that is another important in cloud technologies. If you take any cloud, more or less they have the same product but with the different naming. Okay, here is VM in AWS. It's EC2 like the same. Okay, we want to showcase this also. So that is our main objective. As I said before, yes, it's good. I know cloud. I totally agree that the cloud is affecting every one of us. So, what should I do? Okay, or how should I get into? As I mentioned previously, if you say that I have a cloud knowledge, but I don't have a certification, it's the same synonym. Like you know how to fly a flight, but you don't have a license, then it's a useless, right? They will not consider you. Also, everyone knows that the cloud is an emerging one. So if somebody says, "Oh, I am very master in cloud," but they don't have any certificate, the hiring team or the technology team they have some they don't have full confidence because the cloud itself is just started. How somebody can climb? I have an 4 years experience or 5 years experience with okay, to demonstrate them, to have some kind of an evidence, the certifications, right? Certification or some kind of exams. In other way, the certification or exams, why this provider itself is offering this one is it is a structured way to learn, like how we are learning education, like an elementary, middle school, higher school, college. The same way, the courses also structured by the cloud providers. If you take any vendors like an Azure, AWS, or GCP, they are all offering their certifications, and they are giving the guarantee to the companies. Yes, if somebody is experienced or somebody is certified, they have these skill sets. Okay, that's the another reason. I hope I'm audible. Right? I don't want to talk by myself without.
Yes, Ganesh.
Okay, thanks. Yes, so with that one, okay, so whatever today Shiva walked through, so we are going to see very detailed in that our training sessions. But let me move on that. Now the question comes, okay, how can I fit myself here, or somebody, or what are all that learning paths available? Okay, let me move on next slide. Yes. Uh, if you look, Azure is slightly deviates their certification path or their education path compared to other providers. The way in before up to I can say like in 2016 or something, and before the cloud technology, all this technology company providing a certification based on product. For example, I want to learn Microsoft SQL. They say, oh, you get learn Microsoft SQL and you are an administrator, you are expert, only that. Okay. But now what Microsoft Azure, providing in this Azure, the cloud-based one, is based on the job role instead of the product, instead of the single product. They are offering a wide product, depends on the job role. An example, if I'm saying I'm an engineer, okay, they will not need me only for writing some SQL query. They also expect me should know some Linux basics. Yeah, because different products work together, right? In that way, that is called a job role. As you are a system administrator, or you are a BI analyst, or you are a project manager, it includes many pieces. For example, if you are a project manager, you should know how to use a project management tool, you should know the communication tool, you should know this risk management tool, many things are there, right? That is called a role based. The same way Microsoft mapped with, there are only three categories Microsoft offering the role-based certification. That's why they call it is a role-based certification. The first one they're offering fundamental. What is the fundamental role-based is? Those who are beginner, they are just getting started, or those who have a beginner level of knowledge in that product. For example, Azure Cloud, they are being with that for 6 months or 1 year. They all prefer to go for the fundamental. Okay, so in the fundamental they cover all the basics because the foundation is important. Like Siva walked through with a lot of products, like a big slide. Oh, there is a VM, there is a networking, there is a storage. Okay, so in fundamental it covers very wide and it covers all the pieces available. Okay, I can come this who is very aligned with this fundamental later. So the next two category is the associate. What associate focusing is for, hey, I'm already having some experience in IT, I know the system admin or something, but I want to redirect myself into this Azure cloud. Okay, or somebody says I have some already having some kind of an cloud knowledge, but I'm not in Azure, but I'm in AWS, or I'm in GCP, or I'm in IBM. Or somebody says I know Azure, but something very basics only, but I want to narrow down my path towards administration or towards a developer. Those are all categorized under the associate. So in short, they say 2+ years of worth of knowledge. Okay, it's not necessary you should work in 2+ years in Azure or 2+ years in IT. Okay, it varies, depends on your background. The third category is called an expert. It is kind of a specialist. And a good example is somebody claiming that, oh, I want to be my target is I want to be a cloud solution architect, or I want to be a cloud DevOps expert. Then those people directly they can go to the expert. Okay, so that is a much more narrowed down and it's an expected level of skills. Or they can say like I worked in cloud as a beginner for last 3 years, then their last 3 years to 5 years, then they are eligible for expert kind of things. Okay, in short, if you are already a solution architect, then there is no mandatory like you need to follow this complete path. Start with fundamental and then go associate and then go expert. No, that is not the path. Okay, so they want to they want to consider you are already whatever your experience. Okay, even though you are from non-IT, they want to try to convert that experience here. Okay, so in that. So these are all the three role-based certification what Microsoft Azure offering. I can give you some key hot certification what the industry currently looking and very demanding, and they can't able to find resources in these categories. In the fundamental, as I said, there are 3 certifications in fundamental. All 3 covers about that more specific to that category. Okay, that portfolio. Azure Fundamental, which is very famous, AZ 900. Everyone totally agree that this is the best starting point for somebody new to cloud, or somebody is a fresher, or someone is non-IT background. This is a very perfect point, perfect certification. AZ 900. I can show you what are the topics they are covering in the next slide. The next fundamental certification is Azure AI Fundamental, fully focusing on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay. So all the data scientists, data analysts, they are all targeting for this certification as a beginner. The third one is Azure Data Fundamental, the complete big data and the data engineering. Okay, this is where, like what Siva pointed out, there is a huge demand on Azure Data Factory, this big data, those things. So it is targeting that people's. Okay, DP 900. This all three falls under the fundamentals. Okay, there is an associate, as I said already. I am an admin, or already I'm a system admin, I'm an DB admin, I know some things, or I'm already working in some way in the cloud. Then they are all targeting for associates. The first one is Azure Administrator. This is the latest certification, AZ104. Again, no doubt there is a huge demand now rising, because all the cloud migrations, they are looking this kind of skill set, AZ, Azure Administrator, AZ104. There is a Azure developer. It is slowly picking. You can able to see in the market in the next year, there is a lot of demands. It's going to come, because the first step is migrate and they develop. Okay. So also, if you are already a data scientist, you want to move yourself to that cloud, then DP100 would be best suitable. Azure Data Scientist. Likewise for Azure AI Engineer also. The same way for Azure Data Engineer. So Azure Data Engineer, they are covering two certifications you need to go. I mean, 2 exams you need to take. One is DP200 plus DP201. Also the data analyst. If you are already you are in some kind of analyst or BI tool background, the data analyst, it is talks about using how to use the products in the Azure stack. Okay, that's and the final one is the expert. In expert, we highlighted only, I mean, currently they have only 2. One is for Azure Solution Architect. For that, you need to undergo 2 exams, DP303 plus AZ304. One is for architect in technology, another one is for design architecture. Okay, this is the 2 exams you need to undergo. Likewise, many people keep on asking me, so, I mean, I used to get a lot of inquiry. They say, oh, I'm interested to go for DevOps engineer. Okay, so for the DevOps engineer is a kind of an expert certification. There is a prerequisites for that also. That also I can share in the coming slides. See, my main intention why I'm sharing this is, I want to share what are all the available options in the Azure certification path. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Okay, just I can walk through you couple of certifications. To appear for that certification, what are the skills required. Also, once you clear that certification, once you passed that exam, what certification you are receiving. Okay, this is what ultimate our aim, right? So, if anyone wants to go for Azure Fundamental, they are evaluating your concepts, I mean, your knowledge in 4 sections. One is cloud concepts, what Siva was walked through you at the first half of the sessions about the different models, different services, and then SLA model, everything. And then the second subsections, they want to evaluate at core Azure services. The second half of what Shiva was walked through with you, like the available services like compute, networking, storage, security, etc. The third one is Azure pricing and support. The fourth one is the security privacy. Okay. Security and privacy. So we have an total these 4 subsections. Okay. We know that the time is very constrained. We covered only these first 2 topics, okay, the cloud concept and cloud services. But in our AZ 900 training, we are covering all these 4 sections with demonstration and hands-on. Okay, so once you learned all these 4 areas, you are eligible to go for this AZ 900 Microsoft Azure Fundamentals. This exam, once you pass this exam, you are getting these certifications. I think 6 more minutes. Before I conclude, I can rush up a little bit. So the same for administrator. These are the different areas they want to evaluate. You should have knowledge before appearing for exams. Then AZ 104 for the administrator, then you will get this. So I can go with fastly walk through with the solution. Okay, DevOps. This is where many people, those who are already working, they keep on asking me, okay, I want to go for a DevOps certification. So to go for DevOps exams, first either you should be certified in any one of this stream. Either you should be an Azure administrator or you should be Azure developer. Okay. So once you got this first certification, this is a prerequisite. Then they are testing these areas, and you are eligible to appear this exam. Then only you become as an Azure DevOps engineer. It's not a direct path. Likewise, for a solution architect, there are two streams which runs parallel. You should get certified AZ303 or AZ304 or DP304. Okay, so then you becoming a two exams you need to appear. Okay. Okay. So lot of certifications, lot of skills. The questions obviously will come is where should I start? Okay. Even after all our certificates, see, for personally myself, I appeared that AZ103. Now it converted as AZ104. First I appeared that, then later on I realized the importance of AZ900, because that foundational certification will tells about everything about the Azure, and it is not only helping for my Azure. The same concept, as I said, it is available in AWS or GCP. Okay. The obvious question or default answer to this question is try to look yourself like an AZ900, and then you choose your stream. Okay, but still some people already having some knowledge. What I can recommend is you can reach us. We will provide you some guidance from where you can start your certification course. Okay, based on your background and based on your knowledge, we will suggest you which certification you can start. Okay, that's yes. This is our certification course. Often this is our training durations as a part of Amaya. I'm just giving for AZ900. We are completing that course in 2 days. It's a total 16 hours. Likewise for a DP900 also. All the fundamental courses, the training duration what we have is 2 days. So each training you will get. We are not offering any record or online video training. Everything is instructor led, because that is the real the impact creates. Okay, we are not offering anything on recorded video or something. It's everything is a live instructor lead. Also we offering the study material, practice lab, practice exam. These are all the options available. If you choose for any associate level exams, for administrator it is a 5 weeks, and data engineer it's a 6 weeks. And if you choose for any architect or DevOps, that's also again a 6 weeks duration. For all our training, it's a live instructor based. Right? So we provide you a study material and we cover this end to end. Yeah, okay. So with this, we also, as a part of this webinar promotions, whoever registering for our training, we flat give 50% off on our training course fee. Also, we are giving the practice, because practice makes the perfect, right? The more you practice, the better your chances are getting certified, right? So we are providing all the practice exam is 100% free for those who are attend this webinar. Okay, they are eligible. Plus those who want to go for AZ900 exam. So in addition to your training fees 50% plus the exams, your exam voucher, which is worth of 99 USD, is completely free. Okay. See, the training fee for AZ900 itself is a $250. Okay. So already you get the $250 free. So 50%, after 50%, you are going to pay only $125. In that $125, already your voucher is $100 and your practice exam. So technically speaking, it is a free training. And once you started this training, the end is you are certified in AZ900 in 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Many people used to ask me the questions, oh, there is a lot of videos, lot of YouTubes are available. Why do I go for a training? Okay, so this is what my answers. If you look for any YouTube video or an kind of an something, the free resources, it's keep on. Okay, this will keep on distract us. Okay, I mean it is not a structured one, and as well as that will keep time 6 months, 7 months. Okay, if you go for any training, they know that this is the structure. At the end of the structure, for example, this training or 2 days training, and the next week you attend an exam. Within a week or two, you becoming an certified guy. I think my meeting session is going to end. Before that, quickly I ramp up. For Q&A, let me take a Q&A. So meanwhile, if you want to any more information, more details, feel free to reach us, info@amayacloud.com. Okay, we will guide you more. So I will take some couple of quick questions before I wrap up. So exactly 1.5 hours we are stopping. Let me see, is there some questions? I hope you are still able to see my screen.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thanks. Let me open the chat window.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. For some reasons I can't able to see chat. Okay, I can take the questions from other window.
Ganesh, I have two questions.
Yeah, just give me a moment. Let me take it as some of the questions already in the chat window. Let me give preference that one. Okay. Sorry about that. So some two technical questions. First, I will address that. Does Microsoft provide only public cloud or all three models? Microsoft is offering all the three models, like a public, also a private, and hybrid model. Yes, obviously. So Microsoft offering all the three models. Okay. So there is another question also about the pricing. Yes. So the pricing varies from region to region. It is not clearly defined for an urban or rural, not that way, but depends on which geolocations they have the pricings. But if you go to the Azure portal, they very clearly mentioned that for each region, what is the pricing before there is a pricing calculator also available in the Azure portal. Before we deploy, we will get to know how much it is going to charge or how much it is going to come. Okay, all that controls we have it. Yes, this lecture we recorded, we are going to host in our Amaya Cloud YouTube channel. You will get that links also through your email if you are registered already. So there is a question called how many hours on daily basis for the training. So currently all the training we are running at Saturday, Sundays. So Saturday, Sunday, so each day for fundamental, each day is at 8 hour plus 8 hour. But for other courses, it's a 6 hours. Saturday, Sunday, 6 hours, 6 hours. As I mentioned already, all our training is an hands-on basis. It's not just like I'm talking like not like a webinar way. It is fully interactive, and we have a well-defined the exercise and narrow down this. It's you feel like you are working in an IT project. Okay, we have a defined task and the expected answers, and we will walk through with you. So it is an 6 hours, 6 hours. So each week you will get 12 hours, like the 6 weeks it will go. So when are we going to get the voucher code for AZ? Yes. So as I mentioned, if you registered the training with us, that is the only step you need to take. Then you will get that exam voucher, the training, the practice test, everything. So for this $170, it is this up to that. This $170, it's including your AZ 900 voucher plus your practice test, right? We said so that practice test worth is another $60. So you will get both. Okay. And yeah, I think that's do you require coding skill for the course? That's very important. I mean, very good questions, I can say. Many people ask this one. I'm from a non-IT background. Do I need any coding experience or something? I strongly say no need any coding experience for the cloud. Okay, if you choose a developer stream, that is slightly different. But if you are an analyst, cloud analyst, or an BI, so everything is a minimal coding. Okay, so it's you no need to break your head for learning. So what you need to understand is how this cloud mechanism, how this engine works, and what are all the pieces available. Okay, that way the things are going. Okay, I think these are all the questions. Maybe I can take a couple questions in the online, and then we already 5 minutes over. Any questions?
Ganesh, if I take an admin course, is that fundamental everything covered, or it is different from each course?
Okay, if you directly go for administrator, so in administrator, we cover more on implementation perspective. For example, how you automate implement, how you manage cloud, everything. What is not covered in, what is the difference between the fundamental, I mean, what are the areas fundamental covers, which is not covered in admin. For example, in fundamental, we cover including your pricing strategy, including your, as I said, for an compliance rules. These topics will not covered in the admin. What in admin covered, how you should effectively use this ARM template or automation. Okay, those kind of a little bit more hands-on in admin compared to the fundamental. So fundamental, we talk everything. In your, imagine like you are entering in your supermarket or Walmart. It describes everything. Oh, in this section you have this the food product. This section you have an dressing product. This section you have toys like this. So fundamental will cover everything, and that gives you a good knowledge about what are all the products available in the Azure and which one I should use, the rightly using. But in administrator is how should I manage my Azure environment? How should I automate my Azure environment? What are all the steps I need to take care? What is my monitoring strategy? What is my alarming things? I mean, alert things. Those are all covers in the admin. That's why they say it's a role based. They segregate it. I hope I answered your question. Any other question? Yeah, I think.
How do I register for the course?
Yeah. Sorry, come again.
How do I register for the course?
Yeah, we will send you an email after this webinar. Okay, as I said, those who all attend this webinar and we have that emails, you are completely, I mean, get eligible for the 50% fee deductions. Okay, so you will get that link, and through that link you can register. Also, I'm again re-insisting, our training is not a recorded video training. We are live and instructor based training. Okay, this is what we are doing for last 3 years, and we are delivering.
So when the course start date will be there, all those.
Yes, it's a September 5th. Yeah, we are starting in September 5th. Three courses we are starting. One is AZ 900 Fundamental. Another one is AZ 104 Administrator. Also, we are starting this data engineering DP 200 Fundamental. Okay.
If I register for more than one course, do you have any further discount?
That we will talk, depends on this, but we strongly encourage first, because it is go like an path, right? Our main objective is to get you certified, number one, and obviously why the people are coming for us the certification is they want to start the career in the cloud. Okay, so in that aspect we want to make sure first meet your expectations, get certified, and then get into that cloud job. We want to connect with you, rightly guide you, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely I can do that. See, again I'm saying, I strongly recommend register for AZ 900 irrespective of your other streams. This will give you a complete control of your cloud, what is the cloud computing, and the quickly get into the cloud jobs, even though you are now from the non-IT background. Okay, so the fundamental exam also, I mean, the course fee itself, it's an $125, but you are getting more than $125 worth of the fees. Literally the training is free. Forget about the free or paid. At the end of the second week or third week, you can say that you are certified in Azure. Okay, so 3 weeks to 1 month is what is sufficient. You say that I am certified in Azure, instead of you keep on saying that, oh, I want to start learning Azure, oh, I want to start learning in cloud, someday I can search a job, instead of pushing. Okay, we will help you to narrow down, and strategically we will help you to get certified. Okay, that's the important. So with that, I really thank you very much for joining this webinar and spending your valuable time with us. We sincerely hope that this session was very useful to you and helped you in some way. Okay, so also I look forward to having a continued relationship with most, if not all of you. You always welcome to reach us at info@Amaya Cloud. Okay, any questions, feel free to send this. We will help you the way. Okay, Also, you can check our socials and reach us to anytime, even if you are or you want to take this some kind of courses a little later in the future. Once again, thank you, Siva, and thanks for everyone.